Well, we are delighted to host United States Senator Bob Casey and our distinguished guests in support of the Campus Sexual Violence Elimination Act, also known as SaVE. For many years, Kutztown University has been highly committed to education regarding the prevention, reporting, and identification of sexual violence. We have many strong programs in place through our student life area, campus police, health and wellness services, and women's center to help guide our students regarding this subject. A recent example comes from the last academic year when we launched the It's On Us initiative, and you'll see those posters placed around the auditorium. It's On Us is a national awareness campaign developed by the White House to help put an end to sexual assault on college campuses. It's on us, asks everyone, men and women across America, to make a personal commitment to step off the sidelines and be a part of the solution to campus sexual assault. As I look ahead to my first year as president, the university community can be assured of my commitment to support efforts against sexual violence. Today's discussion with Senator Casey is one of my first steps in sharing that commitment, and I thank the senator and his staff for visiting Kutztown University to discuss this very, very important matter. Senator Robert P. Casey Jr. fights every day for Pennsylvania jobs and families, advocating for the education and well-being of children and pursuing a national security strategy that protects our interests and supports those who serve our country. Pennsylvania's senior senator, Senator Casey was elected in 2006 and re-elected in 2012, receiving more total votes than any U.S. Senate candidate in Pennsylvania history. He currently serves as the chair of the Subcommittee on Taxation and IRS Oversight in the Finance Committee, chair of the Subcommittee on Employment and Workplace Safety on the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee, and is a member of the Joint Economic Committee, the Agriculture Committee, the Special Committee on Aging, and the National Security Working Group. Senator Casey previously served 8 years as Pennsylvania Auditor General and 2 years as State Treasurer. Senator Casey is the eldest son of the late Governor Robert P. Casey and his wife, Ellen. Bob Casey is a graduate of the College of the Holy Cross and received his law degree from the Catholic University. He and his wife, Teresa, have 4 daughters and live in Scranton. Please join me in welcoming Senator Casey to the stage.
I was just asking your president if he can be called Mr. President. There's all these Washington terms, Mr. President, Mr. Chair. Mayor, we don't have a, I guess it could be Madam Mayor or Your Excellency. What would you prefer? We're grateful to be here. And I want to thank Dr. Hawkinson and also Mary Kay Bernowski, who will follow me to the microphone, and to thank everyone who's here today. We've had a number of events around the state talking about some of these changes that came about as a result of my Campus SaVE legislation, and I'll get to that in a moment. But I want to say how much I appreciate the turnout here. We've had a number of these events around the state, but I don't think we've ever had this kind of a crowd, and to have so many students here, many of whom I know are upperclassmen. If you put your hand up if you're an upperclassman. You know, so you've got the overwhelming majority, and I know that these changes will affect the work that you do and the duties that you have. So we're grateful that you're here, and it's a learning session for all of us. But we're grateful. I don't have any good advice for anyone who's entering their senior year in college. This morning I left we have a summer place. We have a lot of nieces and nephews along with my daughters, and one of my nieces said, I won't see you because I'm going to travel and then I'm going to go right back to school for my senior year. And I didn't have any advice for her either, so I won't try to give you advice. I do have a daughter who's a senior in college and an incoming freshman. So, and they're both at the same school, and I told them I might show up most weekends to say hello to them, and they haven't responded yet to that invitation. But I'm really grateful to be here because this is a subject about which, frankly, we have not talked enough certainly over my lifetime, but even more recently. It's only in the last couple of years where we've had a more engaged conversation about how to finally deal appropriately with what is a scourge, sexual violence on campus. all across the country. I was heartened by and encouraged by the work that was done by both President Obama and Vice President Biden and their administration on this issue. And I think the Congress responded as well. We still have more work to do. This set of changes, which I'll outline in a moment, will not be the end of the discussion in terms of legislation, but it's certainly a place to start for now. We have in the Congress the opportunity every once in a while to take existing legislation and make changes to it. They call it the reauthorization process. Now, sometimes a bill or an act is supposed to be reauthorized every 5 years, and then that 5-year deadline ends and it's year 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So sometimes you have a long time period between the enactment of a law and the changes made in reauthorization. We had an opportunity in 2013, finally, at long last, to reauthorize the Violence Against Women Act, which was a set of protections put in place years ago, which needed to be updated, needed to be strengthened. And one of the elements of the new authorization was my Campus SaVE legislation. And it's really premised on, I guess, a couple of fundamentals. One is to create, not just for students, but for the whole campus, both more awareness and therefore more prevention. Both awareness and prevention are key to this, but it's also, I think, consistent with the idea that this is not simply a problem for a victim when she, and it's in almost an overwhelming number of cases, it is she, when she is a victim, or a problem for her and her family or her loved ones. This is a problem for everybody. This is everyone's responsibility. No one on a campus, and I would argue beyond the campus, should be exempted from responsibility to take action and to be part of the solution, or at least part of a strategy to reduce substantially the number of incidents. And for too long, we have not taken it seriously enough as a problem. We've tried to push it to the side and pretend it didn't exist. But even when colleges and universities, and here at Kutztown, I know you've been working on this for years, even when the institution itself was beginning to tackle this problem, too often folks on the campus and folks who support a college or university would say, well, that's not really my problem because I don't engage in that kind of conduct and I don't know anyone who may be affected by it, so it's not my problem. It's all of our problem. And that expression which you've heard, and I know you hear more about today, it's on us, applies appropriately. So what does it do? Well, first of all, we want to make sure that when we focus on these two themes of awareness and prevention, that we made some basic changes. So first and foremost, and I'll just go through maybe 4 of these. There are a number of others, but I'll just go through 4 examples, or 4 elements. The institutions must now include in their annual security reports, so-called ASRs, statistics on domestic violence, dating violence, stalking, as well as sexual assault itself. So they're basically the 4 categories that are spoken to in the law. Second, the institutions must establish clear procedures for on-campus disciplinary action. So those 2 alone are crucial in terms of making everyone aware of what the procedures are when an incident occurs and what the institution must do on their security reports. Number 3, colleges and universities must provide clear statements regarding the procedures the institution will follow when you have an incident. That should be very clear from the beginning. There should be no ambiguity about the procedures that are in place, and everyone should know that far ahead of time. And maybe among the most important provisions are those that pertain to the victim herself. Victims will receive in writing an explanation of their rights anytime they report being a victim, and part of that is the victim's right to notify law enforcement should that individual choose to do that. Also the institution's obligation to help the victim report the incident to law enforcement law enforcement and seek a protective order from a local court. Very important protections in place with that. And thirdly, the victim's options regarding changing academic, their academic schedule, changing living arrangements, changing transportation or work situations if the victim so requests and such accommodations are reasonably available. We want to make sure that in the horror and the aftermath of this kind of an attack, that individual will have some measure of protection or some measure of security, knowing that they don't have to be in the same classroom or the same environment with the perpetrator. And I'd say this as well, when we talk about this being on all of us and this being a responsibility that we all share, a lot of what I'm talking about here are young men. So any young man in this room, and frankly a man of any age, I'm talking directly to you. All of us, whether you're my age or whether you're a young man, you have an obligation to help here. You can't just say, well, that's not me, that's not my friends, so it's not my problem. Every one of us at some point in our college experience sees something that might trigger some kind of report or some kind of information you could convey to others in the community. And it's your responsibility to be part of the solution. You can't just delegate that to the institution. You can't just delegate that to the young women on campus. It's your responsibility as well, and you have an obligation to fulfill that responsibility. It doesn't matter who you are or what your circumstances are. This has to be a collective, determined effort to root out and stamp out this problem forever. We should make it every aspect of this a major priority. You know, there was a time in our history, not too long ago, in my lifetime for sure, where driving under the influence was almost accepted, even though it was illegal conduct. People engaged in it all the time. And finally, a group of mothers around the country finally said, that's enough. We're going to put a stop to this. We're going to make this conduct so objectionable and make it so much the subject of condemnation that we're going to reduce the incidents. And you know what? They were successful. Doesn't mean doesn't mean that problem is eliminated. But finally, after decades of ignoring a problem, the United States of America kind of came together and said, we're going to make this a priority, and we're going to make sure that it is so objectionable that a lot fewer people will engage in it. The same kind of attitude, the same kind of determination, the same kind of concerted action has to take place with regard to sexual assault on our campuses. I think we're getting there. A lot of institutions have made great progress. A lot of students and student bodies have come together to make sure this is no longer swept under the rug, but we still have a ways to go. And I want to commend Kutztown for the work that's been done over many, many years to focus on this problem. One of the best ways to make sure that this problem is dealt with appropriately is to hold up and to highlight good examples, best practices that are evident on campuses like Kutztown as well as many others. So we're grateful for the opportunity to highlight this issue. And this is I believe, a mission that's worthy of a great number of institutions in our country, institutions that produce the kind of graduates which are the envy of the world. No country on earth produces graduates like the United States of America does. You're the strength of our country when it comes to fortifying our economy, being prepared for all of the achievements that you will not just play a role in, but be central figures in. But none of that will be as meaningful if we don't focus intensively on making sure that this problem is everyone's problem, and the solution to the problem has to be the subject of an awful lot of work and effort and concerted and unified effort. And we know that you can do that with us. We know that you can tackle this problem head on and finally reach a point where in the United States of America this problem is a diminishing problem instead of a growing threat to young women on campus and to the security of the campus itself. Thank you for helping us highlight this today. and thank you for the work you've already done and the work you'll do this year. God bless you.
Thank you, Senator Casey. Our next speaker, Mary Kay Bernosky, has been the executive director of Berks Women in Crisis since January of 2005. Mary Kay graduated summa cum laude from DeSales University, with a Bachelor of Arts degree in Political Science and an MBA in Nonprofit Management from Alvernia University. Mary Kay obtained her Juris Doctorate from the Marshall Lythe School of Law of the College of William and Mary. Berks Women in Crisis is the sole provider of comprehensive services to victims of domestic and sexual violence. These services include supportive empowerment counseling, legal advocacy and representation, emergency safe housing and temporary housing. In addition, BWIC offers a variety of community education and primary prevention programs designed to end violence against women and children. In collaboration with the Kutztown University's Women's Center, the Kutztown University HEART team was formed in 2008 to provide trained BWIC advocates on campus to provide support and advocacy for victims of dating violence and sexual assault. This collaboration was among the first of its kind in the state. Please join me in welcoming Mary Kay Bernosky to the stage.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Hawkinson. I really appreciate the opportunity to come here and speak today. And thank you, Senator Casey, not just for today, but for all the work that you've done to make us all safer in our homes, in our communities, and certainly on campus. There's other people I'd like to thank. I'd like to thank Grace and Mary, who've been working with us for many years. To do a lot of work to support victims on your campus and to train people to respond to that victimization when it occurs. Unfortunately, we know the numbers. And Kutztown, like a lot of colleges and universities, is not alone in knowing that these actions are happening on campus. 1 in 5, 1 in 6, whatever that number is, we know it's too many. But we also know that the vast majority of you sitting here and the vast majority of the people on campus are not actually conducting themselves, they're not engaging in behavior that's making people afraid or is hurting other people. But we know that you want to make sure that there's other people that are not hurt. And I just want to follow up a little bit on what Senator Casey was talking about and why we're talking to you, the people who are not engaging in that behavior, but the people who determine what does and does not happen on campus. Like Senator Casey, I have children. My daughter is a junior in college, and my son will be a freshman in high school this year. And I did a lot of college campus visitations. And the one thing I found out very quickly is there's something different about every campus that you learn really quickly. No one tells you, but you know it. You might not understand what I'm talking about, but maybe you've been on a campus tour where the first thing you know about the campus is that this is the right time to go to this dining hall. Can somebody tell me what's something about Kutztown University that is different that everybody knows after a short time of being on campus? Anything? Come on. Yeah.
Avoid the AF at lunchtime.
Avoid the AF at lunchtime. Okay, that's exactly what I'm talking about. Everybody knows it. Is there a sign anywhere that says avoid the AF at lunchtime? How does that message get out there? Experience? Somebody tells you? You know, an upperclassman might say, hey, just word to the wise, avoid the AF at lunchtime. Well, that's what you need to do with sexual assault on campus. People need to know when they step foot on Kutztown University campus that this is a safe campus. And they'll know it by how you act, by how you respond to other people, by what is acceptable here. And you decide that. We will help you. Grace will help you, Mary will help you, Dr. Hawkinson will help you, and I know Senator Casey will help you. But you will make that decision. And you will determine whether or not this campus is safe for everyone on campus. And I know that you're going to do it. Because I've been working on this campus now for 8 years, 9 years, and I know how committed you are to making sure that this is a safe campus. So I just want to thank you for allowing me to be part of it, and thank you for what you're going to do this year.